can just imagine in the writer's room
Mm-hmm.
or when you're plotting out the season, thinking about what we've been seeing in the news.
Yes.
How did that play out for you? Like, did you go, oh, we should do this? Maybe we shouldn't do this.
Mm. It was a tricky thing. I've had, I've wanted to tell that story for a couple of years now, and obviously it's something that's very current and very sad. That that is part of our reality. Um, and I debated whether or not to do it, and I didn't know if it would feel too sensational, but then I also felt like I didn't want to not do it because it could be perceived as sensational. And then after having several discussions with, people whom I trust and the network, we felt there was a responsible way to do it. It's not a gratuitous story point. It's something that is really the catalyst for the final act of the series, if you will, and and there's a part of me, and I don't mean to say this flippantly, but there's a part of me that feels like it would almost be irresponsible for me not to tell that story, in that I have a lead character who is a father with two sons, those boys, the age of those boys, and who's constantly, who's trying to decide whether or not he needs to get out of the club, trying to keep the violence and the bad things that he does away from his family, and yet he is a gun runner. So how do I think it would almost be irresponsible not to suggest that what he does doesn't bleed into that world.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's sort of like, so, and I think, Paris Barclay, who is my executive
Whom I love, by the way.
He's a sweetheart.
Great, yeah.
And he directed that episode, and I think it was done, as tasteful probably isn't the right way to describe it, but it was done as sensitively and effectively, and I knew obviously there was going to be blowback. Obviously people have very strong opinions about that, and maybe blowback isn't the right word, but I knew that there would be people who felt that it was pushing too far, or did it really need to be done. But I'd like to think that if people are concerned that it was done as gratuitous, it was done as to essentially inspire conversations like this to talk about the show, that if they watch the rest of the season, and in fact the rest of the series, that they will see that it will actually be, it's ultimately the catalyst that takes our hero down a different path.